Eric Mac Lain of the ACC Network, the Gramlich and Mac Lain podcast. Eric, always good to chat. I do need to start with this question, which has nothing to do with anything football-wise. One of our former interns, Eric, has spent the afternoon at IHOP for all-you-can-eat pancakes and ate 13 pancakes, which seems like a shocking amount. You're a big dude. How many pancakes do you think you could house in a single sitting if you put your mind to it?
So how many hours was he there, did you say?
I think he was there about an hour and a half, 2 hours maybe. I think he got he topped off. He got full around 13 pancakes.
Okay. That's not bad. I thought he was there for like a day, and I was about to be very embarrassed that 13 is the only number. That's pretty impressive. If I put my mind to it, I'm thinking these are pretty big pancakes. I'd like to think around 20 probably.
Okay. Yeah, I mean he is not a former offensive lineman, so you gotta there's a sliding scale ratio here. We had to get that checked off there. All right, Eric. So we had the game last week in Dublin, and man, I think it was one a lot of us thought. Like I think Georgia Tech could hang with them, but I think most of us thought FSU would get the win and not upset the balance. The opposite happened. What does that do for your thinking of the league? Watching what happened last week in Dublin.
Well, man, the good thing about this, when you actually get to see games, and it kind of confirms everything we thought about. This league is wide open, man, and there's some really good football teams within it. I think this is the deepest the ACC has been, certainly since I played, and certainly as I've been an analyst. But I'd even look to go back further than that and see when's the last time we walked into a season thinking there was legitimately 6 teams that could end up in Charlotte, and then one of those 6 teams just got upset, by a team with the hardest schedule in the ACC. So, I think it really does confirm the depth of the league. Quarterback play is at an absolute premium. We have so many great quarterbacks, and Haynes King proved something that I've been saying all preseason, that outside of projections and what we think, Haynes King's the best known commodity, bang for your buck, what he's able to do. And he proved that across the sea.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, Eric, because, I mean, there's so many of these rankings. There's so many portal guys in the league. We got one here at Syracuse. Cam Ward is a portal guy, the preseason player of the year. Just having that position settled, right, and knowing what you got at Georgia Tech's got to be a big advantage.
Oh, no, 100%. And I mean, that guy is an absolute gamer, and it's fortunate for us that it was week 0 and there was 2 ACC games on, so we could watch it so intently and with a really keen eye instead of having 4 different games on at once. And Haynes King, man, most of the time things were really good. Like Georgia Tech did unbelievable. The scheme, the plan was really good, but when something wasn't perfect or he was having to ad-lib, it was almost like he was better. I mean, man, there were some crazy plays that he was able to make, getting out in space, making a guy miss, or happen to throw a little bit earlier than he wants to, but goes to the right guy and makes a big play. So that guy's electric. He's the ultimate competitor. And, there's a reason why, Georgia Tech loves him so much.
We got Eric Mac Lain, ACC Network, with us, getting you ready for week 1 of the season after an exciting, go figure, week 0 involving the ACC. SMU, weird to say, also played a game this past weekend, which is an ACC game. I found that game like it was the only game on, Eric. I'm like, oh, right, this is a league game. This is like that. It took me way too long to process what was going on with that.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. And not the audition they probably wanted, or the welcome, to the ACC that they wanted, losing, for a majority of the game. But, tackling was abysmal. A lot of silly penalties that just shouldn't have happened. Offense couldn't get anything going, but they found a way. Fourth quarter, they exploded, looked really good. Preston Stone got all the way locked in and, was nearly perfect in the fourth quarter, and they come back to win the game. So there's a lot of, lessons that you can learn that are much better after a win than after a loss, and they get the privilege of doing that.
Yeah, the game-winning drive was fantastic. They messed around for a little too long, but they got it done on the road. road in Reno on Saturday. We got Eric Mac Lain, ACC Network, with us. Eric, I'm looking at this league, and I agree with your point. Like, to answer your question, when's the last time the league's had this many people to win a title? I have no idea, because it's so long. Right. It was before Syracuse was in the league. I have no way to judge it. It's been, for most of Orange's time, it's either Clemson or Florida State, save for literally 1 year, the year we had the Pitt and Wake Forest title game. Like, I think it's a good thing for fun, right? And a good thing for competitiveness. Is that a good thing in this first year of expanded playoff, with the idea of having a dominant team that can make a mark in the playoffs? Like, what do you make of the ACC's ability to make a mark on the national stage this year?
Well, I think the good thing is now you legit might have multiple bids. Like before, as you just said, it was Florida State or it was Clemson. Now you're thinking, okay, it'll be preseason, Florida State, Clemson, and who else? Like who else is going to come to the party? And now, not to say that Florida State's eliminated. It's game one. Let's not overreact and not think they can potentially figure it out, run the table. We'll make that decision when it's proven to us. But again, I think Clemson is going to be relatively back. I think Miami has an unbelievable shot. And if you get those two in an ACC championship game that are undefeated or one loss, man, look out. They both have a great shot to make the playoff. And I think that's the biggest difference. And can you have an NC State or a Virginia Tech or a Syracuse be right there and be chomping at the bit, hoping one of them slip up if they don't play, X team, so they can take their turn at taking a shot at a championship appearance or a playoff.
Yeah, I'd say obviously here we'd prefer if the answer is Syracuse. I wonder if national perceptive. It's not been a while. It's been a while, right? But everybody understands in the college football world, right? Like what it's like for Miami to be good. Like if Miami's good, people are like, well, yeah, we've got all this history. It's now drifting farther and farther back. Like, is that the team? Like if Miami clicks this year, is that the team that can maybe hit nationally the most? Just because people, they get they know what the deal is down there.
Well, I think obviously for recent relevancy. I mean, Clemson making 6 straight playoffs, all things like that. But just from a brand perspective and from rebirthing something, I mean, for sure. And quite frankly, I think Miami is talented enough. When you look at them, can they put it all together? If you think Miami can win the ACC, I think you're thinking they're playing in the national championship. It's not just make a playoff. That's how good I think they can be. But as we know, you got to go play, man. We're not talking our way, to a championship. And so, it's going to be fascinating to see how do they do down in the swamp, game one. Florida obviously has the hardest schedule in the country. Can Miami make it even tougher? Can they, really go there, punch the Gators in the mouth with that big, nasty offensive line, really deep, talented running back room, and a quarterback that, as you mentioned already, was voted preseason player of the year that we think can be very dynamic. That will be an incredible start, momentum, recruiting, excitement, national relevance type of game if the Hurricanes are able to get that dub and do it convincingly.
It's crazy. Miami's never won the ACC. It doesn't. It doesn't.
Played in the game once.
Yeah.
Played in it once.
Doesn't make sense. And they'll be. Go figure. Syracuse has been in the ACC now 12 years. This is Miami's first visit to the Dome. Will be the regular season finale this year after all those great games they played back in the 90s when McNabb was running around. We got Eric Mac Lain, ACC Network, with us. All right, what do you make of Syracuse here? Let's start with Fran Brown. I watched your podcast with Kelly, and you had the great chat with Fran a few weeks ago, and I think he said, those in-depth conversations with a lot of people. How did that hit you? What has the Fran Brown experience been like for you so far?
Yeah, man, I think he is just an amazing coach, an amazing leader. The way that he has made a mark already with his kind of, recruiting mindset, whether that's, go get bigger guys, faster guys, bring guys back home, all the above, man. He's done it very quickly. And I think that's an impressive thing in itself, because if people are believing what you're selling and you haven't even played a game yet, and this thing can get fun in a hurry. And so, when you look at that, when you look at the talent that he's acquired, how he's doing it, every time, man, that I have the privilege to talk to him, I'm just like, I would like to play for this guy. I mean, he is so real, so authentic, kind of in his nature. And again, that's from an outsider's perspective. I've never, been in a recruiting pitch or seen how he does things, but I can just feel it. And I feel like I have a pretty good gauge on character with guys. And man, I think it was a grand slam, and really excited to see, the Syracuse era under his tutelage.
No, I'll say this, Eric. Every player that I've talked to on the team has echoed that, and they see the guy day in and day out. So I think that's a very telling statement about where he's at. And obviously, that works in the living room, that works in the recruiting pitch, and that works with guys. Now Saturday, he's going to coach a game. We've never seen it before, right? He's never been a coordinator. How big of a challenge is this? Like, is this something that can be done? I don't want to say easily, but seamlessly, or are there bumps in the road that we should look out for on that side of things this year?
Yeah, well, here's the deal. Dabo Swinney did it, man, and he's won a couple of chips. I think if it's to be done, it can be done, man. And certainly he has surrounded himself with great men, great staff. At the end of the day, when you're the head coach, man, it's becoming more and more you're a CEO. And I think he fully understands that. And surely there'll be in-game situations where you got to call a timeout or you have ultimate say of what we're going to do. And he's been around enough great people, been around enough ball at the highest level that he'll be fine. I have no worries about that at all. Now, certainly there'll be bumps and bruises that naturally occur along the way. But again, I'm very excited that Coach Brown is at Syracuse and excited for the way ahead. Just immediately what he's been able to do in his short time there with, like you said, without playing a snap.
Yeah, I mean, it's injected excitement around here that we haven't seen in 25 years. I mean, it's bonkers. This offseason is unprecedented around here, Eric. Like we don't know what to do with ourselves. It's so it's so different from every other offseason. I think that's what, like, we all like Dino. Everyone liked Dino, the guy. It got stale at the end, and you got to make changes here. I'm curious, in this era of college football, right? Transfer portal, things happen faster than ever before. How fast do you have to see it from a guy like Fran to know what you got? Just because of how fast stuff moves these days?
Man, I think that is a fascinating question because I think about it in a lot of different aspects and in a lot of different places. And, at the end of the day, I think you have to, number one, what's important to you? What kind of progress are we seeing? Is it recruiting? Is it graduation? Is it winning games? Is it winning championships? What is the standard that we want to measure ourselves by? And once you kind of figure that out as an administrator, as a fan, as a whatever else you want to kind of use to measure, then you can answer that question. But for me, man, if you've got a great guy, and again, as long as we see progress, I'm good with it, and again, I think things take time. Guys take time to implement program and culture and all those things that I just think are still important, even in an ever-changing, something transactional world. I think it's still an important thing.
Yeah, I agree. It's gonna be fascinating to watch it play out here. In this larger league too, right, Eric? With now adding the West Coast teams and all that, where do you see this going here? Because there will be Stanford and Cal and SMU. It's not the Carolina teams being the whole show anymore. How do you see this national view of the ACC playing out this year with so much going on all over the place?
Yeah, it is interesting, right? I mean, literally, we cover the entire country with a team in the middle and two on the left. When you're looking at the conference and the layout of the entire thing, and I think it'll be, maybe something that is judged based upon their production, based on their wins. Do they come in here and just get slaughtered by everybody, or do they come in here and win some games? I think a team like Cal has a real shot to surprise some people. I think that they're kind of on the cusp of being a talented team. They certainly have players and individual spots that you feel really good about. How can they continue to come together and keep growing? Same thing with SMU. It's again, unfortunate that was kind of their headliner. That was kind of their welcome party that everybody saw that I'm sure people are taking a couple of steps back on. And, we'll see for Stanford when they play TCU this weekend. So it's going to be an interesting thing. Just how do they do? And I think that's when judgment will kind of come down.
All right. Where are you guys at this weekend, Eric, with the pregame show and everything you got going on ACC Network?
Yeah, man, we're all over the place. Thank you for sliding back a couple of minutes. I was finishing up a workout in Raleigh, so we're at NC State right now. I was lifting with the boys in their facility. We'll be here today and tomorrow, and then head to Atlanta Friday, Saturday. We're going to double dip, get a little Clemson, Georgia action in the morning. Then we'll be at Georgia Tech at night, and then we'll make our way down south again. Head down to Tallahassee Monday night. Okay.
Busy weekend. Cuse game is sandwiched in there on ACC Network on Saturday. We got a busy weekend here coming up in week one. All right, Eric, enjoy. It's going to be fun times here as we get the season going, but thanks so much for hopping on.
No doubt, brother. Always appreciate you guys.
All right, there he is, Eric Mac Lain, ACC Network. That guy's all over the place, man. You heard it. He's here. He's there. They're going to have it all covered all weekend long. Cuse game 3:30 this Saturday is one of the many games on the ACC Network here in this week 1 of college football. All right, we will take a break. We'll come back after this. We'll tell you what's on tap for tonight. That's next. Cuse Sports Talk, ESPN Radio.